read the Anthony Joshua men's health piece. Really interesting read. I don't want to say concerning sort of points raised, but some deep topics covered. He talked about bottling up emotions, and he mentioned he was paying sort of £2,000 to go into this dark room for 3 or 4 days for like his mental health. And obviously it's been a rough couple of years for AJ. Has there ever been any stage you've been sort of, not just as his promoter, but as a friend, sort of concerned for his mental well-being?
No, I mean, I've had lots of conversations with him, and I think I don't think people recognise what he's been through as an individual, a normal bloke from an estate in Watford that gets thrown into a fishbowl where the whole world will have an opinion on you, where you can't leave your own house without a million photographers and people trying to stick microphones in your face, and even the public wanting his time and selfies. And because of who he is, he will always give it. You will never see AJ come out of anywhere and go, if there was 50 kids outside a restaurant, he would talk to every one of them. He would sign, and it's like he felt that, I think the pressure was this responsibility to act in a certain way, and even when he did, it wasn't good enough, and then he lost to Andy Ruiz and everyone just wrote him off and said he was useless. But no one really cares. That's the reality. And what we saw in Saudi Arabia was an implosion of that bottled up pressure which you talked about. And I think he's been very honest, particularly in that interview and in general. And I think it's great for people to realise that even people like AJ, this mountain of a man, can struggle. And I think he has struggled mentally. And I think he's in a good place now. But I think he's also the guy that's always searching for improvements. So it's not so much of, I have mental health issues. It's how can I improve my mental health? Do you know what I mean? And I think by doing these different experiments, and that's what he's like, not just across that side, but every physical aspect of his training camp. You'll see him he's on Amazon, he's ordering this, and because he's always trying to get the edge. So I think it's really difficult, and I think the public perception is always, AJ, how's he struggling? He's got loads of money. So what? He's like, look at him, he's unbelievable. He's 6'6", he's like built like an Adonis. Doesn't matter. Sometimes what's going on up here is very different, and he's definitely had his struggles. But boxing is definitely something that's kept him in a good place. And I feel like now, that's why I say, he doesn't need to fight. And certainly doesn't need to take a small fight. But he's willing to take a small fight because he's really enjoying his boxing. And he feels like he's getting momentum. He still feels like he's improving. But he still wants the big fights. So, from my side, we always just want him to be happy, and I think he's finding his happiness through boxing at the moment.
And as you guys can see, that's Eddie Hearn really confirming the obvious about Anthony Joshua. Now Eddie's marvelous with words, but what he said and how he put them together was priceless, and it makes a lot of sense. And it was basically the same thing I said. The things that he's doing is trying to cope with pressure, with things that's going on in his life, things, that may seem like, oh, that's no big deal. But, a lot of people are expecting a lot out of him. He became a global sensation in the past 3 or 4 years. He was on top of the world with the endorsements, with the attention, with the fame, with the press, and with that comes with expectations. And him going away on these retreats, that just showing that this is a way for him to let you know that, hey, I need a fucking break. And understand this too. It's not that he went on this retreat, right? That has nothing to do with it. What it has to do with is the fact that he let everyone know that he was on this retreat. Hey, I'm doing it for character. He might have did it or said it to sound cool, but at the same time, he let the cat out of the bag and let people know, look, I'm going to this thing. You know what I mean? This is what I'm involving with, so I can have a peace of mind. You know what I mean? And Eddie Hearn did admit, hey, he has mental health issues. And a lot of times, if anybody is showing mental health issues, it's AJ. But then again, again, AJ is the kind of guy that is human just like everybody else. He's human like everybody else. He goes through shit. I think he needs a break. I think he needs, everybody to just fuck off. you know, but then at the same time, I wouldn't agree with him letting everybody know that, hey, you know, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. I think I would have done that in private. You know what I mean? I would have done definitely that in private. And like Eddie said, well, hey, if he didn't want to fight, he didn't have to. Well, let's hope that's true. You know what I mean? So if he's just, you know, getting back into action, I don't think any of these fights, the Wilder, the Ruiz, even the Zhang, I don't think any of these fights should really be shoved in his face at this point if he's really mentally not ready for them. Okay? And a lot of people might say, oh, he's ducking, he's this, that, and the other. He's not as good as we thought he was. Well, I think this is the thing. Maybe AJ did things that he didn't think he could do. And then other things he couldn't. And then when the times that he couldn't do it, he doubted himself. You know? And speaking of this, really, I think that AJ is in a situation, okay? He's in a situation where, you know, he needs a break. He needs time to himself. He needs to positively deal with certain situations, because you heard Eddie mention the whole implosion after the Usyk fight. You know, that was nothing like AJ. So the question is, though, was that the true AJ, or was that the AJ that is just subdued and is coming out because of stress, or was that something that he was just always trying to get out? You know what I mean? So I think if anything, though, if anything at all, you know, AJ is no different from any other guy or any other person, simply because when Lennox Lewis, you know, when he lost to McCall, it took him 5 or 6 makeup fights to get back to where he was. You know what I mean? The only difference was Lennox Lewis wasn't as popular and as in demand as AJ. People didn't expect shit from Lennox Lewis like they expect from AJ. That's the difference. AJ is put way up on this pedestal, and I think because he's put up on this pedestal, they expect a lot out of him that he's not always willing and ready to give mentally. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Eddie Hearn admitting that Anthony Joshua has mental health issues, that he is going through things, that he is human, and he hopes to get better soon. Please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!